Hey, I'm Sean Bland at the Art Center of Wilmington Island. We are so glad to offer a way to stay connected and continue creating art. Check out our list of art at home kits for both kids and adults, available for curbside service and mail order. Keep visiting our Facebook page and website to see our latest options. We will post them as quickly as we can make them. Each kit contains everything you need to complete a beautiful painting at home. Now that you have your supplies, it's time to watch our step-by-step tutorial. Time to paint. Today, our flower painting is going to begin with its background space being painted with this sponge brush. We're going to start by putting the sponge brush in the water and adding white paint to it. And then we're going to add the golden color that you have in your kit, which is called yellow ochre. And then we're going to add a little bit, just a smidgen of green, and you can see just what a small amount that is. We want this to be 90% white and have just a smidgen of yellow ochre and just a smidgen of green in it, so it gets this background look for you that you see. And so what we want to be able to do is to go in and paint our background space and still see the flowers that we have drawn in. So you can see I'm just going in, and if you lightly just brush that across, you can see that you can still see all of your drawing. We did paint the drawings with a paint marker, so you are still able to see them if you just brush the paint lightly over it, which is what we're going to do. So this will get all the paint into the background space so that you won't have to go back and paint that in. But you can see you just press down with the sponge brush and make sure that you go in between all the spaces that are background area. And even if you don't know what that is at first, you'll be able to see as soon as you start painting your flowers. So just lay your sponge brush down into the water, then move it over to the palette and dip it in the white paint first, and then just add just a smidgen of yellow ochre. That's the color that is orange and brown mixed together. It's almost a gold. And then mix a little bit of green in there with it. That way you'll have a nice beigey green background color for all the beautiful flowers to show up against it. But you can see the lines are muted, but you can see they're still there. And now you're ready to paint because your background is done very simply. It's a very simple background because you have so many busy flowers with a lot of different colors in there. So that's really all you need. We actually want that color to be in your flowers too. We're going to do 2 or 3 layers of colors on your flowers, and I think that'll be a fun technique that you may not have done before. So wash out your sponge brush when you get that done, and then put it in a place to dry. And then we'll get another brush that we'll use for your flowers. Now, what we want to do is when we start this, we want to pick out a place so that you can begin loading all the different colors that you see. Using your flat brush, go in and pick up your green, and then we also have a turquoise green that'll make it darker. And then we have an ultramarine blue that will make it bluer. So we'll be using both of those today. And then we have a yellow that will make it go to the yellow-green side. And we even have the yellow ochre that we'll add that'll make it go to the side that looks a little bit more on the brown side. So all of those colors are going to be very important as we begin to make our leaves. Right now I have all of the colors that I just mentioned on my brush. So I'm going to begin by taking that first and just going over, and I'm going to start with this leaf because it does have all of the colors on it. If you use the edge of your brush to make the line of the leaf, you can do that. And then you can lay your brush down flat and go in the center, and you can see how much space that you can fill in with using the width of your brush. Now, in each one of the shapes that we paint today, we're going to paint it like a puzzle piece. So, in each one of the shapes, we're going to change and put a different shade of the same color or a different tint of the same color so that it's changed and it does not look the same. So we are going to put 3 or 4 different shapes of color into one single item. In this one leaf, I started with green and I added the yellow ochre to it, and I put it in the top left hand corner, and then I added white to it to lighten it up, and I put that in the center, and then I added the turquoise green to it to make it bluer. So you can see in one leaf I'm able to get that many variations, and it really makes the leaf shape look so interesting that we want to make sure that we carry that technique all the way throughout the painting. So let's do another one right beside it, and then we'll continue on. First, I'm going to take the turquoise and the medium green, and I'm going to do this one next. I'm going to find the outline edge of the leaf, and then I'm going to start painting it. And then before I finish painting it, I'm going to pick up another color to put in there with it. It can be the yellow green or the blue green, and then you can also add the brighter yellow, which is the cadmium yellow, which will make it even brighter by adding that color in. So you can see while the canvas is wet, if I add all 3 in there together, you can get a good blend, but it is a great variety in the colors. Now I'm just going to pick up with the yellow green that I have on my brush, and I'm going to find another leaf. I'm going to start with the yellow green, and then I'm going to end up with the turquoise green on the other side of it. But you can see both greens are in the leaf. The turquoise or blue green is on one end, and then the yellow green is on the other. So I'm going to continue to do that throughout the painting. I'm going to find another leaf. I'm going to come around and I'm going to make the edge, and then I'm going to come in and start in the middle, and with nice little brush strokes, I'm going to change the color, and then I have a very interesting leaf because I mixed those both together in the same leaf. Okay, I'm going to move to another spot. I'm going to add, it's the same green that's on my brush, and now I'm adding yellow to it. And as soon as I use up that, I'm going to add a different green to the top of it by adding more white. And you can see how it changes. I'll add the cad yellow to the white and green that's on my brush. And now I will go and paint another leaf. And then I'll take that color and I'll go to another leaf and I'll start it. And then I'll add another color to it. This time I added yellow. Next time I'll add a blue. But each time the color changes, it's still staying in the green family. I'm not going to add anything but blues and greens. But you can see how much interest the painting already has just because I'm changing it and adding so many colors to every leaf. So I'm going to find the edge. I'm going to begin to fill in. And then as soon as I fill just a small portion, I'm going to change and add more of a different green to it. And then I have a new leaf. Remember, sometimes you can just add white to it if you want it to be a little bit lighter, but you can tell the importance of changing the colors as you go. we wouldn't want to put just one green leaf throughout the whole picture. We definitely want to make sure that we change it so it's interesting. So I've got turquoise on this side, and now I'm going to add yellow green to this side. And then I'm going to add white. And you can see how many different shades of green I can make. All right, let's see. We've got some little smaller leaves that come in and hide between a couple of these flowers. So I'll start with a medium green, and then I'll add turquoise green. I'll start with a turquoise green, and I'll add yellow green. I'll start with yellow green, and I will add the yellow ochre to it, or the golden color. I'll start with the golden color, and then I'll add turquoise green. I'll start with turquoise green. I will add medium green. I will start with medium green, and I will add yellow green. I will start with yellow green, and I will add turquoise green. I'll start with turquoise green, and I'll add yellow green. I will start with yellow green. I'll add white. I'll start with the light green. I'll add turquoise green. I will add turquoise green. And I'll have run off the page, so I won't need to add too much more to that one. I will have turquoise and medium green mixed together, and I'll start with that one. And then I'll add yellow ochre to that. Because the paint is wet and it is able to blend as you put those colors in, you can see that it adds the gradation that the leaf needs, so it looks like it's even bented or slanted just a little bit. I'll add a little bit of white to this one, so you can see you've got half the leaf in the sunlight and half that is not. So I'll start with that color, and then I'll add the turquoise to it on the other side. Okay, I've got a great big leaf at the bottom. I'll start with the turquoise because that was what was on my brush. And then I'll add the cad yellow to it and make it yellow green on the other side. And I'm just using the whole width of my brush to make the leaf where it's at its widest, so I can get the full use out of my brush. Okay, I'm going into the yellow green, shaping my leaf, and then I will add the turquoise green to finish it up. I will take the turquoise green and start another leaf, and then I will add the golden color to finish it up. I'll start with the golden color, And then I will add blue. Now the blue is even darker. Okay, so I will take blue and green, and I will make another leaf. I will use the tip of the brush to make the tip of the leaf, and then I'll add white to it to change the color. And you can see already how just using the blue greens and the yellow greens all together in the leaves makes such a very important design element for this picture. Okay, now while we have all the greens and blues, we're going to come in and we're going to add the stems that we see. We're not going to worry about making straight lines necessarily. If you take your brush and you lay it down on your palette and you just flatten it out like this with the full width of your brush, it is so easy for you to take the line of the brush and go in and draw with it. So if you want to practice that a little, if you want to use the flat brush to make your lines, you can practice on your palette by making lines like this so that you can use them. If you don't like making straight lines with a flat brush, then you can change over and we will go to the round brush and we can make more lines that shows the viewer where all of our stems are. Right now I have a few more leaves, so I'm going to finish those up, and then we're going to add the rest of the stems in. And if we miss some, we'll pick them back up with some blue greens after we finish the flowers. Okay, so now I think we're ready to change over to our round brush. So I'm going to wash the flat brush out and dry it and put it aside and get my round brush so that I can draw some stems with the round brush. I'd like you to try both and see which one you like the best. But dip your brush in the water and then take it over to your palette and roll it into the paint until you see that the tip has a point on the end of it. Then choke up on your brush, and then you can go in and just copycat the lines that are here from your drawing. You're just going to accent them a little bit so that they will show up against your background. They don't have to be big and bold necessarily, but you want them to stand out a little. Each time you go over to your palette, change and get all the colors that we just used for the leaves. Sometimes you can get yellow green, sometimes blue green, sometimes add a little bit more yellow ochre. But the most important thing is just choke up on your brush so that you can get the size of the line that you like. If you're not comfortable drawing lines to begin with, just use your palette as a place to practice, and just once you choke up on your brush, lightly, like barely touch the space, and you can see what a thin line you can come up with. But you might need to practice on that just a little bit before you go to your canvas. Get right on top of the space and just choke up on your brush, and that way you can get as many stems painted in there as you need to. Just find all of your green lines. Remember, just every once in a while, put a little more yellow on it, or a little bit more blue on it, a little bit more green. So it's fun and interesting and not just the same green throughout the whole painting. Okay, so once you have found those, then it's time for you to find some colors. So if you will wash out your round brush and dry it, and then go back and get your flat brush, we will start putting some of the colors down for the flowers. And we're going to do those the same way that we painted the leaves. So that means sometimes that you're going to start the flower with one color and then end the rest of the petals with a different color. So let's start right here in the corner with this blue one and see how many different ways we can do that. I'm actually going to start in the center of the flower. I'm going to pick up some of the yellow first, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint the center area of the flower. But before I get all of it done, I'm going to change and pick up some yellow ochre and put that on the other side of it. That way I get two yellows. Yellow cadmium, which is a light yellow, and then the darker brown yellow, which is the yellow ochre color. But I put them together side by side. Now I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to do the same thing with two different colors for the petals. First, I'm going to start with blue, and I'm going to add white with it first, and I'm going to paint this section for one petal, one shade of blue, and then I'm going to add white to it, and I'm going to paint another section, and then I'm going to add more blue to it, and I'm going to paint another section, and then I'm going to add more blue. So you can see as I go, each time I'm just changing whatever it is I have on my brush by adding more blue or more white. That way the flower is so interesting to look at. I didn't change the family of colors. I changed just adding light to it. And that's how many different tints of blue I was able to get by just adding the white. Okay, there's another flower that's blue, so I want to continue with the same thing. Since I have blue on my brush, I have blue with a lot of white on it, so I'm going to start with that first. And then as soon as I do that, I'm going to go back and pick up the darker blue, and I'm going to come in and finish up with the darker blue. Now, the color in the center we have to also change, so I'll wash out my brush, get rid of the blue, and I'll come in. I'll put the bright yellow or the cad yellow in the top space, and then I will add the yellow ochre in the bottom space, and now I have two colors in the center. I'll wash out my brush, and I'm going to go in and put another blue in. I like doing the colors first that are light so I can get a balance of where those colors need to go. So I'm going to come over here and balance those two out with this blue. I'm going to put the blue on, and then I'm going to add white to it and make it a lighter blue. And then I'm going to go into the center with yellow. So I'm going to wash my brush, dry it. I'm going to add white in the center. And then I'm going to add the golden color to finish that up. Now I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to go to another blue. The cerulean blue really works against this background, so it's really nice to have this as an added blue to the painting. I started off with a cerulean, and now I'm going to add the white to it, and then I will finish up that flower by adding the inside color to it. This one's peeking behind the other flower, so you can't see everything, But I'm going to wash and dry my brush. Remember, dry it really good so that you don't have any drips unless you like drips, and then of course you can do it. But just be mindful of how much water is on your brush at all times. This time for the center, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to use the dark red color. Okay, so as we begin to look at the next couple of flowers that circle around, we're going to add pink, and then we're going to add orange. So we'll change this up just a little bit now, pink and orange. And then we'll put the center in with red with green in it, so it's dark. And then we'll put a little bit of yellow right around it. We'll wash that off and go back to the pink. And this time we'll add more orange. And maybe even some white to lighten up the pink and orange. And then we'll go in and put a brownish kind of center with red and green and orange. So we'll make a dark center for that one. And then I had enough colors on my brush. I don't even really need to add another one, but I will, so we won't have anything that doesn't have at least 2 different colors in it. Okay, so let's move over and do this one with orange and white in it. And now we'll add orange in addition to the orange and white. And then in the center, we will go with green. So we'll add green and then yellow, green. So yellow right in with the green. So this we'll do with pink and orange. So I'm going to start with orange. This is just a very fun, fantasy-like painting that you can do. That's just a great, fun way to express yourself with color and your brush stroke. And it's an easy way to make a beautiful painting come to life with so many colors. I'm going to add white to this area. So I started with orange, I added pink, and now I've added white. And I'm going to go to the center and add green. And now I'll add some yellow. Okay, I'll wash out my brush. And I'll continue with reds and pinks over here. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the red. Going to add the pink. And put a little bit of the orange to sort of finish up that edge. And then the center, I'll add the dark red with a little green in it, so it's dark. And just a pinch of orange to finish the center up. Some of the centers you don't even have to finish up because you've already got the background paint back there, and if you like that color, you can certainly leave it. Okay, now I'm going to go to the crimson red, and I'm going to make this little flower. It's a little bit different or smaller even than all the other ones we've done so far. So we will do that with crimson red, and then we will come back with pink and add that right on top of it with no center. We'll come in and let's go a little orange on this one. So I'm just going to pick up orange, have a little pink on my brush from the flower that I just did, so that will blend in nicely with it. And then I can add a little more pink And then I can wipe that off, and with the centers, I can go red with just a dot of green in it so it's dark. And then we can add just a little white to it to finish up the center. Let's now, with the white, just add a little orange to your brush and go in and get this little flower put in. And let's add some white to it to change it up just a little bit. And let's add a little green to the center and yellow. So green and yellow, finish the center of that flower up. We can wash the brush and go to one more. We'll start with the alizarin red, add white to it, and we will work on the part of the petal that is on the outside toward us. And then we will add white and orange to it and do the other side of the flower. You can see how all those colors just mix together when you play around with it on your brush. And then we can look and decide if we need more leaves or more flowers or more colors. I'm thinking I'm going to go with green and add white to it, and I'm going to make a few leaves that are a bluish color instead of a greenish color, to sort of pull the background and the foreground together just a little bit. Just a few shapes that look leafy. And on my brush, I'm carrying the blue and a little green and a little white. So I don't necessarily have to intentionally pick up new colors, but I definitely I'm carrying a lot of color on my brush. So it's real easy to transfer those to the canvas and to put those in. Okay, so I think I'd like one right there. So just a light bluish color. It just seems to tie the background and the middle ground together. Okay, I like the way that looks. Okay, in addition to that, I'm going to go back to my background color that I started with. I had white with a little yellow ochre, and I'm going to add that color and do a few more leaves that just have a little golden color to them. They're not green, they're not blue, they're just sort of a golden leafy color. And that ties the background in to the foreground as well. Just enough color in the background that you notice it and you feel like that everything works together. So I just took the background color, added a little bit more of the yellow ochre to it, and then I just played around with where I wanted more leaves to go. You can put as many in there as you want, filling up your space. And then when you feel like you have enough, you should finish up by adding a few white leafy colors. So I'm gonna just, with the color that I already have on my brush, I'm just gonna add white to it. And now I'm gonna make a few white leaves that you really can't even see, but you know they're there. They add a little depth. Once again, we're just tying the background and the middle ground together. And there you have your flower painting for today. Now that you have finished your project, we want to see your masterpiece. Please send a picture either to our email at artcenterofwilmingtonisland@gmail.com or post it to your Facebook page. Keep visiting our Facebook page and website to see the latest Art at Home kits. Thank you so much for supporting your neighborhood art center.